Welcome to CoatingsCast, the ultimate podcast dedicated to the science, art, and innovation of liquid and fluid applied roofing, coatings for surfaces, and waterproofing. It's time to roll up our sleeves, put on our lab coats, and dive headfirst into the world of liquid protection that keeps your roofs and surfaces in prime condition. The future is here, and it's liquid, so don't miss out. This is CoatingsCast, where every drop counts in the world of roof and surface protection. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of CoatingsCast at coatingscoffeeshop.com. I'm your host, Megan Ellsworth, and I'm here with my friend Johnny Walker from APOC. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Megan, I'm great. How are you today?
I'm so good. It's always fun to get to chat with you, so I'm looking forward to this. Today, we're talking about creating a guide to roof restoration success, and kind of all the steps that go into that. But before we dive into that, I'd love it if you could kind of just explain your experience and introduce
Yeah.
yourself to everybody out there listening.
Yeah. So my name is Johnny Walker. I'm the National Technical Manager for the Roofing and Waterproofing Division of ICP. I've been with APOC some 17 years now.
Wow.
My total experience in roofing is about 40.
Wow.
Started as a young man, as most people do, and picking up shingles off the ground, and graduated to the rooftops. And I've worked in distribution as an independent rep, sales manager, technical manager, field systems coordinator, and now national technical manager. So just a wide range of experiences in the building and roofing industry.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I look forward to picking your brain today.
Yes.
Let's start with what is driving the growing interest in roof restoration amongst building owners right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, the obvious one, right, is going to be cost.
Right.
With the cost of material, the cost of labor, going up. Looking at a viable alternative, something that is, a little more cost effective for the building owner. That's a huge driving, but not just the material cost, but the labor cost.
Right.
They have to factor all of that in, and so looking at an alternative like a restoration, can be a good way. The other thing is sustainability. Something that can be uh, restored again. So taking a roof that's in good condition, putting a restoration on it, and then having that potential to prolong that life, but maybe even prolong it longer. So, uh, say we do a 10-year restoration and then provide an additional 10-year at the end of that, and so on and so forth. So, sustainability is a huge key. Um, I'd say those are probably the two biggest driving factors right now.
Yeah. I'd I'd love to ask too a little follow-up question here about
Mhm.
insurance. Like, are you seeing insurance be either for restoration or against restoration?
A little of both. It just kind of depends where you're at. Um, we're working diligently with the insurance companies, and local and state governments, to, you know, so that they understand. There's a big difference between just applying a fluid coating on a roof or actually doing a restoration. So it's education for the insurance companies and for the local municipalities and the state municipalities, so that they understand that when we talk about a restoration, we talk about a fluid applied system. We're not just saying, hey, we're going to go out and paint your roof.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it, and we want them to understand that. And so we are having some successes with inspections and things like that. Showing that the roof can be prolonged. So it's an ongoing thing that we're continuing to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. It's great to hear that there's manufacturers out there working on it,
Mhm.
actively, and I know you mentioned RCMA.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so when a building owner is deciding between restoration or replacement, what are some of the biggest factors influencing that decision that, isn't just cost and sustainability and all that
Sure.
stuff?
So, um, obviously, current condition of the roof, we have
Right.
to determine. I mean, is the roof even restorable? Not every roof is.
Yeah.
So when they're determining whether restoration or replacement is the way to go, we need to determine that. Once you get past that, it comes down to cost. What are they trying to do on the roof? How long are they trying to prolong it? And what system would go on there? Um, so they're looking at the total investment, and the life cycle of it as well. So if we're going to do a tear off, is that a 10 or a 15 or a 20-year roof? And if we do a restoration, how long is that going to last? But then, it's also the environmental part of it. The, when you're talking about a restoration, we're generally not filling up dumpsters. We're not tearing it
Yeah.
off. So there's a lot of other factors that go into, a building owner's consideration when they're thinking about, hey, do I want to restore it or do I want to tear it off? You know, um, and there's understanding in it, and this is kind of where we have to educate the building owners. Some building owners will
Right.
just look at a roof restoration or look at a tear off and think, well, if I tear it all off, then I'm getting a brand new roof, and that's the way I want to go.
Yeah.
But that's always going to be the most expensive option and the most invasive for their building.
Right.
So it's educating them so that they understand that, we can put a 10 or a 15 or a 20-year restoration on it if the building is restorable. And again, not everyone is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good to know too for any building owners out there listening. Um, okay, so now we're talking kind of about the guide to success of a restoration.
Mhm. Okay.
What should contractors look at first, evaluate first during a roof assessment to determine if that restoration is viable?
Yeah. So when we look at this, what we want to do is we want to look at the entire roof system from the deck up. We want to determine, if there's deck deflection, is the roof structurally sound, right? Um, is there moisture in the roof? I mean, these are key factors, right, to determine if the roof is even viable. Doing a moisture survey, an infrared,
Yeah.
core cuts, those types of things. Um, Ensuring that the polymer that they choose is going to match the type of roof that's on there. Whether that's
Yep.
a mod bit, a single ply, potentially conducting adhesion tests and all those types of things. But really, it comes down to, can the roof be restored? Is it saturated? Is it dry? Is it structurally sound? How long has it been properly maintained? Do they have any current active leaks? These are all the things that they're going to want to look for when they're doing that good assessment. So they're doing a visual assessment, but it's also a forensic investigation as well, with the surveys and with the destructive testing or core cuts.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So, once they're doing those surveys, what are kind of the red flags that they should be keeping an eye out for to tell them if that roof is a good candidate or not?
Yeah, so massive moisture intrusion is a big one.
Right.
National Roofing Code really doesn't allow a lot of water in a roof. They generally say less. They only allow 5% in the membrane layer and 8% in the insulation layer. And if they were to do a core, they would think that core was dry without testing that with a meter, right? So it's not a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so just to look at a roof and say, "Oh, it's a good candidate." Well, no, you have to go in. So red flags are going to be um, serious structural issues, major deck deflections, soft spots when they're walking the roof, all these types
Okay.
of things. We tell our contractors all the time, if you identify these things, you must put that in writing and notify the building owner immediately, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want them to accept any liability there. But if you see those types of things, um, you know, we've seen all types of roofs. We go on roofs that are poorly maintained and there's literally, trees growing through the roof. So that's probably not a good candidate. But massive amounts of moisture and massive structural issues, those are going to be huge red flags.
Yeah. So it's really not a you have to get on the roof. It's you can't not get on the roof. You have to get up there,
Hmm.
do some tests, do the core samples like you said. Um w- Cost is a big driver. Does
Right.
restoration compare cost-wise to a full replacement when you look at long-term and short-term savings? Like, what is that
Mhm.
cost saving when you restore a roof?
Yeah, so the cost saving is, generally what we've always kind of said in the past is that, a restoration is going to be about one third the cost
Okay.
of a complete tear off. And obviously every roof is slightly different. And we've done some recent research data, partnering with Continent Group, uh, and really determining, hey, is everything that we thought was true, is it actually true? And that's what we're actually finding out, is that we were right, and everybody that thought, hey,
Wow.
restoration is viable, that our data is actually showing that out. So when you think about cost, it's not just a material cost, it's a labor cost. So you talk about product and productivity, you're nearly twice the profit per crew day, with a restoration versus a tear off. And you're a fraction of the time on the roof. It takes massive labor hours to tear a roof off, put it
Yep.
in the dumpsters, the cost of the material that's going in the dumpsters and disposal and all those types of things. And we generally see that, with the tear off, it's really about 85%, less labor,
Okay.
and for a complete tear off, and about 50% fewer hours than a recover. So, you know, what does that actually mean? That means, more productivity out of their guys,
Yeah.
less time on each project, more time for other projects, right? So the overall cost is a huge factor, in the material itself, but in the labor hours and time on the roof and all those types of things.
Yeah. Absolutely. That it's so interesting too. Um, I'm sure do you get questions from contractors asking how they communicate that properly to their customers? How do
Mhm.
you help them, you know, share that message?
Yeah, educate, educate,
Yeah.
educate, right? Having this new data, and all of that data should be coming out here very soon.
Awesome.
Making that public, but educating them so that they understand, that what those profit points are. You know, a restoration isn't always going to be the best. It's just not every roof can do it. And they have to really weigh all the options with the building owner. We talk about restorations being one arrow in the quiver, right? If a
Okay.
contractor has multiple options, maybe he does full tear offs and maybe he does restorations and they're competent with both, educating their building owner on all of those options and so that they can really weigh that out and determine what's best for not just the building owner, but that particular roof,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes a restoration isn't the option. Sometimes a recover is not the option and a tear off is the only option.
Yeah.
But understanding where that fits in, and that's one of the things that we absolutely pride ourselves is helping to educate our contractors on all those types of things. When like the last question, we talk about the profitability and the less time on the roof and more profitably, more labor, less labor hours, and
Yeah.
understanding that and then helping them convey that to the building owners so that they understand, hey, we're going to be up there, we're going to be out of there. It's very minimally invasive. We're not tearing off huge sections of the roof, and being able to be on and off that project without disrupting what's going on in the building.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge selling point too to a customer, right? And especially, do you get questions from customers and contractors asking about kind of, the smell, the chemicals with a restoration?
Yeah, we do. And there's several different types of products up there. I mean, you
Yeah.
think of the different types. You have acrylics, you have silicones, you have asphaltics, you have urethanes, and a few others, right? So each one of them has its attributes, and difficulties. So educating that contractor on each one. Acrylics are highly reflective and have very low odor. Silicones are great under ponding water. Understanding what's the best for that roof. Steep slope. If it's going to be seen from the ground, the acrylics are going to stay bright white and be highly walkable. And maybe that's the way we want to go, and it's low VOC. And of course, it also depends on where you're doing it. If you're talking about Southern California, they have some VOC requirements
Right.
that are in place, and making sure that we're putting a system on there that's going to meet the local code. Where elsewhere in the country that's not a concern, and we have more options for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, going off of that,
Mhm.
when it comes to product selection, what should contractors be looking for to ensure that long-term performance and durability, and maybe taking into account their state, VOC laws or, the building's
Mhm.
needs and whatnot?
Well, it really comes back to the evaluation and determining what's the
Yeah,
right. We want to make sure that the coating will match the roof that we're going to put it on, right? That it will bond to it and adhere to it and last. So if you've got some bird bathing, some ponding water, well, then an acrylic's probably not going to be the way to go. If you've got steeper slope, then maybe silicone's not going to be the way to go because it's slippery when it gets wet.
right.
You've got asphaltics as well that, when you talk about VOC requirements, maybe that's a big concern. Whereas the acrylics and silicones are, very low VOC and cure quick. The other thing is the
Interesting.
time of year, the location where they're at. If it's in the late fall, acrylics can be difficult to put on, whereas
Mm,
silicones are very, weather friendly. They can get wet within 45 minutes, and generally speaking, rained
wow.
on, dew falling on it overnight's not an issue. Freezing temperatures overnight, not an issue. Where acrylics would have all of those concerns. So, it's understanding what polymers work where and when, and making sure. And again, the other thing is you think about the longevity of the product. Where acrylics and urethanes, some of them tend to lose millage, over time, which means they're going to get a little thinner.
Right.
Where your high quality silicones are more non-sacrificial, so you're not going to be losing that millage. And you'll see that, like with the silicone, uh, your warranties are going to range there anywhere from 10 years up to 20, 30, 40, even 50-year material warranties on some of
Wow.
the silicones. So you know, you take all of that into account: location, time of year, type of roof, pitch of roof, what the building owner's expectations are, condition of the roof, put all that together, and then you can, really determine what the best product for that roof is.
It's kind of like a pick your own experience situation, it sounds like. Um, and how do you help contractors educate themselves on all these different avenues that they could go down?
Yeah, so the best way that we educate, outside of, the research that we've done, is internal training.
Yeah.
We get out there, whether it's in our training centers in Tampa and Phoenix and Andover, or whether it's going to the contractor on site and training them there, training them in their shop, getting them in. We are a huge, huge focus. That's our teams every day, all day are focused on training contractors, training them about product, training them about ways to educate on the profitability of the systems and the viability of it and the right product for the right type of year.
Yeah.
We go out and we conduct roof walks with them.
Amazing.
So we're on site. We've got a huge team throughout the country and expanding all the time. We are truly, national, but even as big as we are, we've got teams everywhere, individual crews that are going to get up on your roof with you. And that's one of the ways that, we want to build that relationship, but it helps us educate them to ensure that the right product is going on the right type of roof, the right time of year.
Yeah, it's really great too that you have those kind of spread across the nation, those teams that are doing roof walks, doing
Hmm.
inspections, helping the contractors make sure they're doing their best work, and it's a win-win. Everybody's happy,
Yeah.
For contractors looking to grow their business, how
Yeah.
can offering restoration right now open up some new opportunities for them?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we teach is literally diversifying your business with fluid applied restoration,
Yeah,
right? And it allows them to open up a lot of different doors. If all they do is tear offs, then in a volatile economy and in a tight market where maybe folks just can't afford that, they're looking for repair and restoration. They're looking for a less expensive option, but yet still want a good option.
yeah,
Nobody wants to put good money against a bad system, right?
right.
So you know, helping them have the tools that they need, and as I said earlier, that extra arrow in the quiver, can absolutely open up a lot of other doors. And it doesn't always mean that we're the best thing for it. That the restoration is the best way to go because some roofs just need to be torn off. But giving them that other option that they can, put both those things, even a good, better, best up to their building owner,
Okay.
with a wide range of options and saying, this is why, this is better than that. And, we're finding that a lot of times now, especially in the down economy, they're really looking for that little less expensive option, but they still want a good option. They don't want to just
Yeah.
paint the roof
Yeah.
and have somebody go, "Oh, I took care of it. You're waterproof." And then the very next day it's still leaking, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So they want a true restoration, and that's what we offer. We educate them on that and what that means and what we're going to do, with all of the different details on the roof and really make that roof watertight. And that kind of all ties in, and it really gives them a broader scope of options for their customer.
yeah. It really does. And like you said, to diversify their ability to be flexible as well on the
Mhm.
roof, on jobs, less man hours up on the roof.
Yeah.
Um, Johnny, this has been fascinating. So thank you so much for chatting with me. Any last words on where people can get more information, learn more about your products, and how to find some of those trainings?
Yeah. So you absolutely can reach out to us at apoc.com. We have trainings every single month in our training centers. You can register right there
Amazing.
by clicking a simple link. You absolutely can reach out to any of your local territory managers, and they'll be more than happy to come out and walk a roof with you, do those
Okay.
roof inspections, really help you, guide you. That's one of the things that we do exceptionally well is we don't just go, "Yep, we sell coatings, good luck." We're out there, we're walking with you. We want to make sure it's done right,
Yeah.
and that every project you have is successful. So absolutely apoc.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, and watch for our report going to be coming out pretty soon. I think mid-month maybe.
Oh, amazing.
This
Okay.
little media briefing going on with more data. So that'll give our the contractors that want to do restoration. It's going to give them some more ammunition to go out there, and it's not just what we thought; it's
Yeah.
proven data. We researched over 100 projects, restoration projects, and
Wow.
some 250, 300 commercial tear off projects, and really put the data together. And so what we thought was true is true. And now they can back that up with hard data. So reach out, and you want to learn more, check us out.
Amazing. Amazing. Everyone can also go to the APOC or ICP directories on coatingscoffeeshop.com to learn more and see all their other podcasts, webinars, all that good stuff. Read all their articles. Johnny, this has been amazing, and I so appreciate your time and your wisdom and sharing it all with us.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, Megan.
Yay, likewise. Everyone out there, please go to coatingscoffeeshop.com to learn more. And wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you get notified every time we post a new episode. And we'll see you next time on the next CoatingsCast.
Thanks for joining us on this coding adventure. Stay tuned for more episodes, and in the meantime, be sure to follow us on social media to stay updated with all things roof coatings. Until next time, stay coded. For more information, go to coatingscoffeeshop.com.